The large screen in the United Nations Hall showed the alien ship approaching Earth. Everyone in the room held their breath. After years of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. The ship belonged to the Galactic Council, a group of 37 different alien species who worked together to govern this part of space. They had sent a message ahead, saying they came in peace and wanted to talk. Lisa Grant adjusted her uniform and took a deep breath. As the captain of Earth's diplomatic corps, she would lead the talks with these aliens. The president had chosen her because she stayed calm under pressure and had a gift for finding common ground. "They're landing at the agreed location," said a voice from the control room. Lisa nodded and gathered her team. "Remember, we represent all of humanity today. Let's make a good impression." The first meeting with the aliens took place in a specially built dome. The council representatives were a mix of different species. Their leader, High Speaker Zartuk, had blue skin and 4 arms. He spoke through a translator device. "We welcome Earth to the galactic community," said Zartuk. "We bring knowledge, protection, and a chance to join our council." At first, everything seemed friendly. The aliens shared stories about other worlds and showed amazing technology. Lisa and her team took notes and asked questions. Earth's scientists were excited about learning from these advanced beings. Then, 3 days into the talks, the real negotiations began. "To join the council, there are certain rules all members must follow," explained Zartuk. Lisa smiled. "We understand. Every community needs guidelines. First, Earth must give up all military forces. The council will protect you instead." Lisa's smile faded. "That's a major request. Our military also helps during natural disasters and—" Zartuk continued as if she hadn't spoken. "Second, Earth will have a probation period of 200 years before getting voting rights." The Earth team exchanged worried glances. "Third, council ships must have access to all Earth resources at rates we set." Lisa tried to stay diplomatic. "That seems one-sided. Perhaps we could discuss fair market rates that benefit both." "Fourth, humans must stay in the Sol system only. No expansion to other stars until after probation." The list went on. With each new demand, it became clearer that the council didn't see Earth as an equal. They viewed humans as children who needed strict rules. Over the next few weeks, Lisa and her team tried different approaches. They suggested compromises. They asked for smaller steps to build trust. Nothing worked. The council representatives wouldn't budge. Behind closed doors, Earth's leaders began to worry. "They don't want partners," said Jack Martins, Earth's security advisor, during a private meeting. "They want our resources and our obedience." Lisa disagreed. "There must be room for negotiation. Every diplomatic solution starts somewhere." But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, even Lisa began to doubt. The council representatives treated human concerns as unimportant. When Earth scientists asked questions about technology, they received vague answers. When Lisa requested changes to the terms, Zartuk would say, "This is how it has always been done." Meanwhile, Earth governments quietly prepared backup plans. Scientists studied the alien technology. Military leaders assessed potential threats, and a small team began exploring whether humanity could chart its own path among the stars. 6 months into the talks, Lisa still tried to find common ground. But with each passing day, one question grew louder in the minds of Earth's leaders. Was joining the Galactic Council worth the cost? And if not, what would happen if humanity simply said no? The answer would change the fate of Earth forever. Lisa Grant rubbed her tired eyes as she reviewed the latest message from the Galactic Council. After 6 months of talks that went nowhere, the Council had just sent an ultimatum. Earth had 48 hours to accept their terms, or the Council would leave and mark Earth as a non-compliant world. What does non-compliant world mean? Lisa asked Zartuk at their morning meeting. The blue-skinned alien shifted uncomfortably. Such worlds receive no protection or trade benefits. They are left to develop on their own until they see reason. Lisa noticed something in his tone. Is that all? Glindar, another council member with scales and yellow eyes, spoke up. Why pretend? Non-compliant worlds are also monitored to ensure they don't become threats, and their resource-rich areas may be accessed by council ships as needed. You mean invaded, Lisa said quietly. A primitive view, Glindar replied with a dismissive wave. Your species is barely evolved from primates. The council has guided thousands of young races. You need our wisdom and control. Lisa kept her face calm, but her hands tightened into fists under the table. She looked at each alien face in the room and finally understood. They had never intended fair negotiations. They saw humans as animals to be trained. Back at the United Earth Command Center, Lisa reported what she had learned. The room was silent when she finished. There's more, said Jack Martinez, stepping forward. Show them what we found, Sam. Sam Jones, Earth's top intelligence officer, displayed images on the main screen. These are unauthorized devices planted throughout our solar system. Council ships have been secretly installing monitoring stations on Mars, Venus, even our moon. How many? Asked Lisa. Over 200, Sam replied. And they're not just watching. Some can interfere with our communications. Others can track our ships. President Clark stood up. We've called this meeting to make a decision. We've tried diplomacy for 6 months. The council won't compromise. Now we know why. The question is, what do we do about it? Jack Martinez spoke first. We could pretend to agree, buy time while we prepare better defenses. They'd know, said Lisa. They're already watching us closely. Sam nodded. And once we formally join, they'd have even more control. What about fighting? Someone asked. Jack shook his head. Their ships are far more advanced. We wouldn't stand a chance in direct conflict. Lisa thought for a moment. There is another option. We could simply walk away. Reject the council? President Clark asked. Yes, Lisa said. Not in anger, not as a threat. We just decline their offer and withdraw from consideration. Has any species ever done that before? The president asked. Lisa shook her head. According to council records, no. Every species either joins or fights and loses. The room grew quiet as everyone considered this third path. They'll still mark us as non-compliant, Jack warned. Yes, Lisa agreed. But we gain time. And we do something they don't expect. After hours of debate, they reached a decision. The next morning, Lisa returned to the meeting dome, where the council representatives waited. We have reviewed your terms, Lisa said formally. Earth appreciates the council's interest in our world. However, we must respectfully decline your offer and withdraw from consideration for membership. The silence that followed was absolute. The aliens stared at her in shock. Zar Tuk's forehands trembled. This is unprecedented, he finally said. No species has ever rejected council membership. There is always a first time, Lisa replied calmly. You cannot survive alone in the galaxy, Glindar said, his yellow eyes narrowing. You need our protection. Lisa smiled politely. Perhaps, but we would rather face the unknown on our terms than surrender our future on yours. As she walked out of the dome, Lisa knew Earth had just taken its first real step into the galactic community by choosing its own path. 3 days after Earth rejected the Galactic Council, all communication stopped. The council representatives waited in their ships, expecting humans to change their minds. They didn't. No messages at all, asked Zartuk, pacing the bridge of his ship. None, replied his communication officer. Earth has gone completely silent. Council observers reported strange activities. Orbital stations were being taken apart. Satellites were being moved. Ships were returning to Earth's surface. It seemed like humans were retreating. Intelligence officer Kenlath studied the reports. This is typical behavior for a primitive species facing a setback. They are hiding, regressing to a simpler state out of fear. The council leaders were pleased. They will realize their mistakes soon, Zartuk said. When they struggle alone, they will beg to join us on any terms. What the Council didn't know was that Earth was executing a carefully planned operation. Deep inside a mountain base, Fleet Commander Eric Boyd looked at the large map showing Earth and the surrounding space. Red dots marked all known Council monitoring devices. Status report, Eric said to his team. Operation Silent Exodus is proceeding as planned, said his second-in-command. 30% of our ships have already departed through the unmapped jump points. Council sensors haven't detected them. Eric nodded. And our decoys? Working perfectly, sir. We're sending out false signals that make it look like we're dismantling our space program. Meanwhile, we're moving everything important through the blind spots in their sensor network. This was humanity's real answer to the Council. Not surrender, not war, but disappearance. For years, Earth scientists had secretly studied strange energy patterns at the edges of the solar system. They discovered natural wormholes, jump points that the Council either didn't know about or hadn't shared. These hidden paths led to star systems far from Council space. The EDS Defiant is ready for departure, announced a voice over the communication system. Eric walked to the launch bay where Earth's most advanced ship waited. Captain Olivia Mitchell saluted as he approached. Your mission is critical, Eric told her. You'll lead the third wave of colony ships. The new settlement on Proxima B needs the farming equipment and medical supplies you're carrying. Olivia nodded. We won't let them down. Eric looked at the thousands of people boarding the massive ships, scientists, farmers, teachers, engineers, each carefully selected, each carrying the hope of humanity to the stars. Remember, Eric said, absolute radio silence once you leave the solar system. We can't risk the Council tracking your path. As Eric watched the Defiant and its escort ships depart, he thought about the gamble they were taking. Earth would appear to remain, but it would be a shell, a decoy to distract the Council while humanity's real future unfolded elsewhere. On the Council observation ship, Ken Lath continued to monitor Earth. Strange, he muttered, looking at his readings. There are fewer energy signatures than expected for a planet of this population. They're probably conserving power, his assistant suggested. Primitive species often react to stress by reducing technology use. Ken Lath nodded, but something bothered him. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was happening beyond his instrument's ability to detect. Back on Earth, Eric looked at the updated map. Green lines showed the paths of humanity's exodus ships, spreading like invisible roads to distant stars. Over the next 6 months, these ships would carry nearly 20 million people to new worlds, the seeds of a human civilization beyond Council reach. Sir, said his assistant, Council ships are reducing their presence. They've left only 2 observer vessels in orbit. Eric smiled. They think we've given up. They expect us to stay here and wither until we beg for their help. Their mistake, the assistant replied. The greatest in their history, Eric agreed. While they watch an empty shell, we'll build something new among the stars. Outside the window, the last light of day faded, and stars appeared in the night sky, each one a possible home for humanity's future. 5 years passed since Earth rejected the Galactic Council. The Council kept a distant watch on the planet, sending patrol ships every few months to check on the primitive humans who had made a foolish choice. These patrols always reported the same thing. Earth showed signs of technological regression. Cities still stood, but orbital activity had decreased dramatically. The Council observers saw exactly what humans wanted them to see, a civilization that had retreated from space. What they couldn't see was the truth. Beyond their sensor range, humanity was thriving. Susan Miller stood on the observation deck of New Hope, the largest of 17 human colonies spread across unexplored regions of space. Below her, a new city grew, with buildings and farms spreading across the valley. Director Miller, the representatives from Harmony Colony have arrived, her assistant said. Susan nodded and straightened her jacket. As colony director, She coordinated the network of human settlements. Today's meeting was important. Scientists from several colonies were gathering to share a breakthrough. In the main conference room, Paul Wright and Maria Hernandez prepared their presentation. They had spent years studying the strange physics of the jump points that had allowed humanity's escape. "Are you ready?" Paul asked, adjusting the display. Maria nodded. 3 years of work. I still can't believe we did it. When everyone arrived, Susan opened the meeting. 5 years ago, we left Earth rather than submit to Council demands. Today, we take another step towards securing our future. She gestured to Paul and Maria. Our scientists have something remarkable to share. Paul stepped forward. The Council controls space travel through their network of known jump points. But we've been studying the natural jump points we discovered, and we've learned something they either don't know or haven't shared. Maria continued, "We've created a new FTL drive that doesn't need jump points at all. It creates its own path through space-time." The room erupted in excited conversation. This was revolutionary. Council ships needed pre-existing jump points to travel between stars. A ship that could create its own paths could go anywhere. "How soon until we can build these drives?" Susan asked. "We've already built a prototype," Paul replied. The test ship made it from New Hope to Harmony in 3 days instead of the usual 12. While humans advanced in secret, they also made new friends. Not all species in the galaxy belonged to the Council. Some, like Earth, had refused Council terms. Others had never been offered membership. In a space station orbiting a red dwarf star, Susan met with representatives of the Tauri and Vexnar, 2 species who had also chosen independence. "Your new drive technology changes everything," said Krill, the Tauri ambassador. His silvery skin reflected the station lights as he spoke. "We can offer mineral resources to help build more ships." Zex, the tall, thin Vexnar diplomat, nodded. "And we can provide biological sciences to help your colonies develop medicine suited to each world's environment." An alliance formed. 3 species sharing knowledge and resources, helping each other grow stronger far from Council oversight. Meanwhile, the Council continued its occasional checks on Earth. During one such visit, Council Captain Divnar reported to Zartuk. "The humans have completely abandoned their orbital stations. They maintain basic satellite communications, but nothing leaves their atmosphere." Zartuk nodded with satisfaction. "As expected. Without our guidance, they've lost their way to the stars. In another generation, they'll forget space travel was ever possible. Then we can approach them again, and they will gratefully accept any terms we offer." Divinar hesitated. "There is one strange thing. Earth's population readings seem lower than our historical data suggests they should be. Probably disease or conflict," Zartuk said dismissively. "Primitive species often self-destruct when left alone." Back at New Hope, Susan ended her day by watching the colony's children play in a park beneath an alien sky. These children, born on a world light years from Earth, represented humanity's future. A future built on freedom and determination, not submission. "They still have no idea," she said softly to herself, thinking of the Council. "And by the time they realize what we've done, it will be too late to stop us." The Council scientific vessel Horizon drifted slowly through the Proxima Centauri system. Its mission was routine: catalog stellar activity and update old survey data. The small crew of 8 aliens didn't expect to find anything interesting in this backwater system, just over 4 light-years from Earth. "Captain Vrilgzan, we're detecting unusual energy readings," said the sensor officer. His tentacles moved quickly over the control panel as he adjusted the settings. Vrilgzan, a tall being with metallic blue skin, looked up from his reports. "Source: the 4th planet. It's artificial power generation." This was impossible. The Council's records showed no settlements in this system. Proxima Centauri wasn't even on the approved colonization list for the next 100 years. "Move us closer," ordered Vrilgzan. Full sensor sweep. As the Horizon approached the 4th planet, they saw it, a large station built into the side of a rocky moon. Mining equipment extended from the main structure, digging into the resource-rich surface. "Magnify," said Vrilixen, his voice tight with surprise. The screen showed a clear image of the station. Near the main airlock was a flag with a familiar pattern, the blue and white symbol of Earth. "Humans," gasped the navigator. "That's impossible. They've barely left their own planet for years." Vrilixen narrowed his eyes. "Open a communication channel." On the mining station New Anchorage, alarms sounded throughout the facility. Station Chief Frank Collins rushed to the control room. "What's happening?" he asked. "Council shipped, sir," replied the security officer. "They're hailing us." Frank took a deep breath. This was the moment they had trained for, but hoped would never come. The Council had finally stumbled upon a human outpost. "Everyone remember your training," Frank said calmly. "Activate Protocol Shadow, then open the channel." On the screen, the alien captain's face appeared. "This is Captain Vrilixen of the Galactic Council vessel Horizon. You are operating an illegal settlement in Council space. Identify yourselves immediately." Frank kept his face neutral. "I'm Frank Collins, chief of this mining outpost. We're a private operation from Earth, surveying local resources." "Impossible," Vrilixen replied. "Earth has no deep space capability. Your planet rejected Council membership and technology. You couldn't have reached this system." Frank shrugged. "We've been working on a few things since you left. This is just a small research station. You will prepare for immediate inspection," Vrilixen demanded. "We must verify your technology level and activities." "I'm afraid we can't allow that," Frank said politely. "This is a human facility. We respect the Council's authority in general space, but this station is under Earth jurisdiction." Vrilixen's face darkened. "You have no jurisdiction here. This system is unclaimed by any recognized power. You will submit to inspection or face consequences." Behind Frank, the security team quietly activated the station's defense systems. On his private screen, he could see that the emergency signal had been sent. Help was already on the way. "Captain," Frank said, "I strongly recommend you withdraw from this area." Vrilixen laughed. "Your primitive outpost cannot threaten a Council vessel. We will dock and board in 30 minutes. Any resistance will be met with force." The connection ended. Frank turned to his team. Time to show them we're not so primitive after all. On the horizon, Vrilixen prepared his security team for boarding. The humans were bluffing. Their little outpost couldn't possibly have significant defenses. "Captain," called the sensor officer, "something's happening." Around the supposedly simple mining station, hidden panels opened. Defense turrets emerged from concealed positions. And then, most shocking of all, 6 human ships appeared from behind the moon, their advanced drives leaving no trace of their approach until they revealed themselves. "Impossible," whispered Vrilixen as the ships surrounded his vessel. A new voice came over the communication system. "Council vessel Horizon, this is Commander Alan Russell of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your presence here is unwelcome, and your threats against our outpost are considered hostile actions. You have 5 minutes to leave this system." The human ships weren't large, but their design was unlike anything in Council records. Their energy readings showed technology that should be far beyond human capabilities. "We should leave," urged the navigator. "There are too many of them." Vrilixen hesitated, then nodded. His mission was scientific, not military. But as the Horizon turned to leave, he activated a hidden transmitter, sending all their sensor data directly to Council headquarters. The humans had just lost their greatest advantage: secrecy. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so noisy. Representatives from all 37 member species filled the room, talking loudly over each other. The discovery of a human outpost at Proxima Centauri had thrown the entire Council into chaos. High Speaker Zartuk banged his ceremonial staff on the floor 3 times. "Order. We will have order." The room gradually quieted. Zartuk pointed to the large screen displaying the data from the Horizon's encounter. As you can see, the humans have somehow developed technology far beyond what should be possible for their civilization level. They have not only reached Proxima Centauri, but established a mining operation there. Council Warmaster Thurgon, a massive reptilian being with skirt armor, stepped forward. This is a direct challenge to Council authority. We must respond with immediate military action. The humans rejected our guidance and now operate in our space without permission. Many council members shouted their agreement. Zartuk raised all four of his hands for silence. Before we decide on action, we need more information. Intelligence Officer Kenlath, your report please. Kenlath, who had been studying Earth for years, looked uncomfortable. High Speaker, I regret to inform that our intelligence has been incomplete. New scans of Earth show something troubling. The population is approximately 40% lower than it should be. Gasps filled the chamber. Additionally, Kenlath continued, we've detected unusual wormhole activity near several star systems previously thought to be uninhabited. Our probes have found evidence of human presence in at least 7 locations. 7. Gon roared. Impossible. Kenlath showed more images on the screen. These were taken by automated survey drones over the past month. We believe the humans have been expanding for years while maintaining the appearance of regression on Earth. The council chamber erupted again. No species had ever deceived the council this way. How did they develop such technology? Asked a small bird-like representative. Their ships at Proxima Centauri showed drive signatures unlike anything in our database. Kenlath hesitated. We believe they may have discovered principles of space travel that we haven't. Silence fell over the room. The council had always prided itself on technological superiority over younger species. The idea that humans had developed new technology was deeply disturbing. Before anyone could speak, the chamber doors opened. A human woman walked in, flanked by 2 aliens the council recognized as members of the Tauri species, silver-skinned beings who had refused council membership centuries ago. Who dares interrupt a closed council session? Zartuk demanded. The woman stepped forward. I am Senior Envoy Grace Peterson of the United Earth Government. I believe you've been discussing us. Thurgon moved toward her threateningly. You have no right to be here. Grace stood her ground. We requested a meeting 3 days ago when we detected your probes in our territory. You ignored us. So here I am. Zartuk stared at her in shock. Your territory. The council hasn't granted humans any territory beyond Sol. Grace smiled. We didn't ask for a grant. We expanded on our own after rejecting your generous offer of membership. She activated a small device, and a holographic map appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed dozens of star systems highlighted in blue. Humanity currently has settlements in 43 star systems, Grace explained calmly. We also have defensive arrangements with 5 non-council species, including the Tauri and Vexinar. The council members looked at the map in stunned silence. The blue areas formed a substantial region of space. A new power had emerged while they weren't watching. This is impossible, Zartuk whispered. How could primitives achieve this in just 5 years? Grace's expression hardened slightly. That was your first mistake. You saw us as primitives needing guidance, when we were simply a young species needing respect. Your second mistake was believing we would either submit to your rules or remain isolated on Earth. She gestured to the map again. We chose a third path, and now we're ready to discuss real diplomatic relations between equals, if you're interested. The council chamber remained silent as the full implications became clear. Humans weren't supplicants begging for acceptance. They were a major new power that had emerged overnight, changing the balance of galactic politics forever. The next day, a much larger human ship arrived at the council station. It was sleek and powerful, unlike the simple vessels humanity had used before leaving Earth. The ship's name was painted on its side, EDS Liberty. As it docked, the Council's defense systems automatically scanned it, detecting energy readings that surpassed most Council military vessels. Earth Fleet Admiral Daniel Morgan stepped out of the airlock. He was a tall man with gray hair and a confident walk. Behind him came a team of human diplomats carrying data tablets. The Council representatives waited nervously, still shaken by yesterday's revelations. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting," Daniel said as he entered the Council chamber. "I believe it's time we established a new relationship." Zartuk nodded stiffly. "The Council is willing to discuss adjustments to our previous offer of membership." Daniel smiled slightly. "We're not here to discuss membership. Those talks ended 5 years ago. We're here to present the Solar Concordat." He handed Zartuk a data crystal. When activated, it displayed a document in several languages, including all major Council dialects. "The Solar Concordat is our proposal for relations between human space and the Galactic Council," Daniel explained. "It recognizes both as sovereign powers with their own territories and laws." Thurgon, the War Master, read through the document and growled. "This is absurd. You demand we recognize your claim to 43 star systems that you seized without permission." "We didn't seize anything," Daniel replied calmly. "We settled uninhabited worlds that weren't claimed by any spacefaring civilization. The Concordat also proposes fair trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and a military non-aggression pact." Zartuk studied the humans carefully. "What happens if we refuse these terms?" "Then we continue to develop separately," Daniel said. "But that would be unfortunate. There's much we could learn from each other." A thin, elegant council member named Pelvora spoke up. "These terms treat us as equals. Humans are still a young species. You must understand that the Council has guided galactic civilization for 12,000 years." "We respect your history," Daniel answered. "But age alone doesn't justify the right to control others. The Solar Concordat is based on mutual respect, not hierarchy." The Council members asked for time to discuss privately. When the humans left the chamber, arguments broke out immediately. "This is primitive arrogance," shouted Thurgon. "We should send our fleet to Earth and end this nonsense." "Our fleet?" asked Kenlath quietly. "Have you seen their ships? Their technology? We don't know what they're capable of." Pelvora nodded. "And they have alliances with the Tori and Vexinar. A conflict could spread." As the debate continued, 3 representatives from smaller council species moved to one side of the room. They spoke in hushed tones. "The humans offer fair trade," said the Ventari delegate. "Our people have always paid high rates for council protection. Perhaps there's another way." "Their technology is impressive," added the Halgan representative. "Think what we could learn through cooperation instead of control." "And they didn't try to conquer," the Prex delegate noted. "They simply built their own path when the Council's terms were unfair." While the Council argued, Daniel and his team waited in a nearby room. A human diplomat named Kara Lee checked updates on her tablet. "Sir, we're receiving reports that Council trading ships are approaching 3 of our border colonies," she said. "They're requesting permission to discuss possible trade agreements." Daniel nodded. "It's starting already. Some see opportunity where others see threat." Back in the Council chamber, Zartuk finally called for order. "We must respond to the humans. What is our position?" The Council was divided. Many older members wanted to reject the Concordat and demand human submission, but others saw the changing reality of galactic politics. "We should consider their proposal," said Pelvora. "The galaxy is changing. Perhaps the Council must change too." Thurgon slammed his fist on the table. 12,000 years of tradition don't change because one primitive species gets lucky with technology." As the argument grew heated again, a message appeared on the main screen. 3 Council member species, the Ventari, Halgans, and Prex, had independently contacted the human delegation. They were interested in discussing their own agreements, with or without Council approval. The unthinkable was happening. The Galactic Council, united for millennia, was beginning to fracture. The Galactic Council faced its greatest crisis in 12,000 years. 3 member species had officially announced they were leaving to join the Solar Concordat. Others were quietly discussing similar moves. The perfect unity that had defined the Council for millennia was shattering. Warmaster Thurgon convinced the remaining Council members to make a show of force. He sent a fleet of 20 warships to the human colony world Novaterra to demonstrate Council authority. It was meant to intimidate the humans and any Council species thinking of joining them. The Council fleet arrived at Novaterra expecting to find a vulnerable colony. Instead, they found 30 human ships waiting, using technology that made the Council vessels look primitive by comparison. When the Council commander demanded the humans surrender the planet, the human ships simply activated their advanced shields and waited. After a tense standoff, the Council fleet retreated. The message was clear: military action against humanity would fail. 2 months later, representatives from 22 species gathered on Novaterra. Some were from Earth and its colonies. Others came from the former Council members who had joined the Solar Concordat. Still others represented species that had never been part of the Council. Chief Negotiator Laura Wilson welcomed them to the Grand Meeting Hall. At 55 years old, Laura had spent most of her career in diplomacy. 5 years ago, she had been part of Lisa Grant's team during the failed Council negotiations. "Welcome to Novaterra," Laura said to the assembled delegates. "Today we begin writing a new chapter in galactic history." On the main screen, the remaining Council members watched from their own chamber. Their numbers had decreased further as more species left to join the humans or simply declared independence. "This gathering is illegal," Zartuk said weakly, but his words carried no weight anymore. Laura ignored him and continued. "For too long, one group claimed the right to control all others. The Galactic Council believed age gave them wisdom, but they forgot that wisdom also requires listening and respect." Over the next week, the delegates on Novaterra drafted a new framework for galactic relations, the Galactic Concordat. Unlike the Council's system of control, the Concordat was built on principles of equality, fair trade, and mutual defense. Each species develops at its own pace and in its own way, Laura explained as they reviewed the document. The Concordat doesn't dictate how members should govern themselves. It simply provides rules for how we interact with each other. By the end of the week, 16 species had signed the Galactic Concordat. Others would join in the coming months and years. The Council didn't formally dissolve, but it became just one of several galactic powers rather than the only authority. On the final day of the summit, Lisa Grant, now Ambassador Grant, arrived from Earth. She had been the first human to speak with the Council 6 years ago, and now she watched as humanity helped reshape galactic civilization. At a small reception after the signing ceremony, Lisa found herself talking with Kreltor, a diplomat from the Ventari, one of the first Council species to join the humans. "I still don't understand," Kreltor said, his translucent skin shifting colors as he spoke. "How did humans achieve so much so quickly?" Lisa smiled. "We didn't want to fight the Council. We didn't have the military strength. But we refused to accept their unfair terms. So we simply walked away and built something new." "But that required such courage," Kreltor said, "to reject the established order and forge your own path. Sometimes the best negotiating strategy is being willing to leave the table," Lisa replied. The Council never understood that. They thought everyone would accept any terms rather than face the galaxy alone. Kreltor raised his glass in a gesture he had learned from humans. "To knowing when to walk away," he said. Lisa touched her glass to his, "and to building something better afterward." Across the galaxy, humans continued to explore and expand. Their colonies grew into thriving worlds. Their technology developed in ways the Council had never imagined. And their example inspired others to seek their own paths. All because, when faced with bad terms, humanity had simply said no and walked away from the table.